Congress acted. You were part of that.
That's right.
And they made it a political liability, guys like Ernie and others, and they pushed back on OSHA. And there was proof that you could indeed take on a regulatory agency and push it back. And so we have to make the Environmental Protection Agency an albatross, a political albatross for members of Congress. We launched a regulation reality effort earlier this year. We're going to continue that. That goes around the country and lays out how the EPA is costing jobs, is driving up the cost of our goods, which makes them less competitive, and it works. You know, members of Congress suddenly began paying attention when they got small business owners and local folks, consumers in their districts and states who were pounding them and saying, "What the heck are you doing to me here?" And the number one thing, I'll close with this, Tina, the number one thing I hear on the road at our events is the EPA. It's the number one agency. Now the healthcare thing is looming on the horizon, but the EPA is what's killing more jobs and inhibiting more job creators than anything else out there. Yes, sir.
Tim, were you all looking at the mapping data that goes back with this? I mean, you're talking about cap and trade. You got to know where people are having carbon emissions, but there's no data to say where anyone is or where even the historical data of climate change is. There's no mapping data that says that climate is changing or anything like that. Are you all focusing on that aspect?
We made a decision early on. We launched our effort on cap and trade and the global warming about 3.5 years ago. So we've been at it a while. We made a decision that as a free market group, we would focus on the economic impact. And so we focused on job losses. There are some great studies out there. And Heritage, we've used Heritage a great deal for the job loss studies, especially, and the National Association of Manufacturers, other groups like that. We've started looking now at the scientific impact and the fact that over the last decade it appears it's been cooling and not warming. That's hence the name change. If you noticed, it went from global warming to climate change. I mean, whenever the left gets in trouble, they just change the name. You know, it was the liberals, now the public's repudiated liberalism, so now it's progressivism, right? They did the same thing with global warming and switched over to climate change. And the one thing I know from the polling data is that the American public knows there's an economic liability. They clearly agree with us on that. And for the first time, in the last 12 months especially, I've seen a dramatic tilt among independents especially with regard to believing the science involved behind global warming. I mean, that was in the high 70s, literally 3 years ago. High 70s said, yeah, there's scientific evidence for man-made global warming. That's now dropping, depends on which poll you want to look at, Gallup, others, that's down in the low 50s now. And that's precarious for the left because they've already lost the economic argument. We've beaten them there. We just got to keep pounding that argument. If we win the science argument, I think it's game, set, match for them. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think the tipping point was in change in opinion about science behind climate change?
I think the UK email scandals was probably the tipping point. I think that's for the first time. You had always had some outliers. And I say that in a good way, not in a bad way, who were saying, hey, wait a minute, there is a conspiracy going on. There are people out there fixing the data. I think that when those emails became public, the public looked at it and said, wait a minute, here's the supposedly UN, these UN scientists. And we've always, I think we hold scientists in high regard, and that's a good thing. I mean, science is a good thing. But when it was clear from those email exchanges that they were manipulating data and even hiding data that was not of advantage to them, I think that was a crucial tipping point on the science side. I think the economic tipping point was $3 and $4 a gallon gas. When $4 a gallon gas happened 2 summers ago, remember when that kicked in? We noticed a dramatic uptick in turnout for our rallies, events, pressure on the legislators being willing to call and email, and the polling data confirmed that. I think it was $4 a gallon gas. And then I think that the UK email scandal was the science side. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Code A looked like it was kind of swapped to me. We're supposed to get some kind of deal. Do you think really anything significant coming out of Cambridge?
No, I don't. And all candor, I don't think they've got their horses. The United States, clearly, the left's getting pummeled here and losing. I don't, but what a great time to hit them, right? When your opponents are struggling on this issue, where they've had the advantage for a decade and a half, now is a crucial moment to really make this a rout. I mean, we for a long time they were beating us. And then over the last couple of years, we've kind of reached a bit of a stalemate. Now in the last, I would argue, last 6 to 10 months, we've had a big advantage on them. And we have a chance to break this thing open. And I mean win this issue for a long time to come. And now's the time to show the hypocrisy Now's the time to show the wasteful spending and the cronyism involved in this. And the other thing that we're really pushing with allies is the myth of green jobs. I know many of you have been on this issue as well. What a great balloon, what a great balloon to puncture, because that's the last leg that they have to stand on. Have you noticed what the president, what the left talks about on this? It used to be the science. Then they began kind of tilting away from the science and saving polar bears to it's the right thing to do, and now it's job creation. They're literally reduced to a job creation argument. They don't even talk about polar bears anymore. How sad for the polar bears, right? It's wrong. But now it's a job creation argument. And that's the last thing they had, and it's not a legitimate argument. And I think the public is getting that. I'll tell you that you mentioned tipping points earlier. I'll tell you the tipping point on that. I think when the president went to Michigan, Holland, Michigan, to tout the battery plant that was supposedly creating all the jobs, when that event flopped, and even within Michigan, the polling data dropped for the president's approval and for this issue in Michigan, a state he goes to announce hundreds of millions in new largesse from the government, basically. When that flopped and they pulled that off the road, that was when we knew, wow, these guys have big trouble and big problems on this issue.